So I checked out a movie on Netflix called Polar, which stars Mads Mikkelsen, who I love. He's a fantastic actor. Of course, he's going to be in Death Stranding in the not-too-distant future. He says, fingers crossed. Mads Mikkelsen plays a hitman who has reached the ripe old age of 50, and the agency that he works for has this rule that they retire all their hit people at 50 because they don't want them growing old and potentially having any memory issues or anything like that that could impact the agency. It's a ruthless organization. They're hit people. They kill people. That's what they do. And Mads Mikkelsen is especially good at it, and he gets sent out on a couple of different missions that we have flashbacks on, but he's really at that retirement age, and he's getting all set to pack it all up.
What was your job?
I was in the funeral business.
And he heads into the frosty wilderness and sets up shop in a cabin that's situated right next to Vanessa Hudgens, who plays a woman that's kind of dealing with stuff and struggling with things and welcomes a little bit of the company that Mads Mikkelsen gives to her. Of course, what happens is there's a betrayal that happens and hit people are sent after Mads Mikkelsen, and we get to see just how proficient a killer he is.
Somebody set me up over here.
He does some incredible work with all of this stuff. It's really fun to see some of these aging actors assume the mantle of all of these action set pieces and just be able to kind of run with it, and Mads Mikkelsen is totally game. He looks the part, he carries himself with the, exhaustion and also this sort of simmering violence that's underneath him. You can see that this guy is just ready to take matters into his own hands and kill anybody that gets in his way. And you believe him. You believe the character. Even though this is kind of, over the top and cheesy with saturated colors, and it's ripped right from the pages of the Dark Horse comic book of the same name. And it does have this comic bookian kind of vibe, and it's absolutely trying to cash in on all of the great success that Liam Neeson continues to have, and also the John Wick movies, kind of trying to put Mads Mikkelsen into that kind of role. But you know what? Even though it's a little bit obvious in its attempts to cash in, it still is a pretty fun film.
You're doing a good thing.
Jonas Åkerlund is the director here, and he's done a lot of music stuff, a lot of concert films, and working with musical acts. So there's a ton of quick cuts. There's a lot of crazy little flashback sequences that happen in a blink of an eye, and it kind of suits the material. It's definitely over the top. It kind of evokes a little bit of what Luc Besson did with The Professional. Mads Mikkelsen, he grits his teeth. He doesn't have tons to say, but when he says it with real menace and real certainty. It was fun to watch this movie kind of unfold and unfurl.
Figured it wouldn't kill me.
You know what? The movie was actually recommended to me by Netflix in an email saying, look, if you are not easily disturbed, you might dig Polar. And of course, they thought that I might not be easily disturbed because I had just finished watching The Punisher.
No.
And this is definitely a little bit more comedic. It's a little more tongue-in-cheek. There's a bunch of happy-go-lucky murderers, hit people all the way through this movie that are just sort of singing their way through the brutal violence that's in the flick. It's all cranked up to 11, the insanity of the film. But yes, it has some really crazy violent stuff. A lot of awful things happen to Mads Mikkelsen, actually. But of course, he gets his revenge in some pretty outlandish and colorful ways, some heavy, violent ways. This is not high art. It's certainly not John Wick. It's not the best of these older guy gets revenge type tales that we keep seeing again and again. But I still had a pretty good time with it. I'm going to give Polar an 8 out of 10.